My name is Rachelle Smith, certified master fitness trainer, professional speaker, and author. Welcome to the Mardi Gras edition of Fitness Friday. So, last time, highlighted the importance of motives. I want to continue this conversation on motives. And again, last time I challenged actually all of us, particularly those of us who are leaders in the fitness industry, and those of us, of course, are leaders outside the fitness industry as well, to really evaluate, why we do what we do, because it's so important. Because motives are everything. And like I said, ultimately, people succeed because of right motives, but also a lot of people fail because of wrong motives. And so that's true. It doesn't matter what your role is in the fitness industry. If you're a trainer, if you're a group fitness instructor, if you're a general manager at a corporate location, if you're a franchise owner, it's so important. Motives are everything, folks. And I see so much when I'm undercover, again, across various industries. I see so much. And the biggest eye-opening kind of takeaway, I would say, is just the variation that exists between, again, franchises who may be under the same brand and same chain, as well as, again, your corporate locations. It's just the variation that you experience. But I guess when I think about it from a statistical standpoint, when we think about the bell curve, we think statistically speaking that, again, the bell curve, so you've got under the bell, which is considered to be the average, the mean, the median is where most people fall and most entities fall. You can look at it, you can just kind of say anything basically, and ultimately the average is always going to consist of the majority. Industry, people, whatever the case may be, sales results. But those particular facilities who are kind of on the front end of that, what I call the positive outliers, and then you've got the negative outliers who is at the other end. It's just incredible in terms of the variation of what you see. And so I always, we all have to always ask ourselves about motives and why we do what we do. And like I said, this is kind of the Mardi Gras edition. And I was home for the holidays for 3.5 weeks in Louisiana. I had a wonderful time as always for the holidays, and had an opportunity to do a couple of audits, actually a couple of fitness facility audits in Texas. And I'll highlight one of them that I did, of course, while I was there, and then another one, same chain, same franchise, that I did on January 5th when I came back. Again, just a variation of experience and what I experienced. And again, everything rises and falls on leadership, as John C. Maxwell said. So very different franchise owners, very different experiences that I had. So day after Christmas, December 25th, my mom rides with me to Texas. So we drive, we're doing this audit. So before we walk in, we kind of walk in, there it is. Late morning, so it wasn't particularly busy, too many people. And so, standing there at the membership desk, waiting on somebody, the front desk, waiting on somebody to come and talk to me about membership. And I told my mom, I said, hey, watch this. I knew what I already knew. I can walk in and I already know. And I said, okay, Mom, watch this. And so, the guy comes over, how you doing, ma'am? I love the thing, you kind of miss that about the South. Everything is ma'am and sir, and I fall back into that same way of speaking when I'm back there as well. And so, how can I help you today, ma'am? And I told him, and this is what I told my mom. I said, watch this. And I said, 2017 is approaching, and I wanted to see if I could get some membership information, because I really need to lose some weight. And so my mom, and she almost blew my cover, because it's important for you to know, when I travel, particularly, again, I'm there 3.5 weeks. When I travel like that, I travel and I pack light. So I actually had on gym clothes that I would wear if you were to see me at my gym here in Novi. So there's no layering in that particular instance. So, I look like the fitness fanatic that I am. And so my mom almost blew my cover, and I can laugh at it now, but I was like, oh no, my cover's about to be blown, because my mom looks at me, and then she gives the guy this look, and then she looks back at me again, and I'm like, oh, Mom, please don't say anything. And so ultimately, I talked to her afterwards, and she said, I was just so shocked, because she said, I was waiting for him to tell you, what are you talking about? Or, you're already fit, or, I'm sorry, you must have some body image issues, like something. She said, I was waiting for him, and I said, Mom, let me tell you something. His goal, the only thing that young man cared about was selling a membership. And there's a lot of gyms like that, where it's not about necessarily what's best for the member, a potential member, but it's all about, at any cost, selling a membership. And I said, yes. And, that was an integrity test that I gave that young man. He didn't know it. And of course, I do it all the time whenever I'm undercover. Because again, I like to uncover motives. What is your motive? What are you trying to do? Do you truly care, or you have any credibility or integrity, or whatever? So that was a case of a integrity fail. But same chain, January 5th, day after I come back. So I'm at another location, of course, very different states, very different franchise owners. Had a wonderful experience. Went in, same thing. There's no layering of clothes or anything like that. Went in, young man, did a fantastic job. And actually, when we sat down, we're talking about membership and this and that. And I said, you know what? You really seem, and it's true, folks. It's kind of like you ever watch Undercover Boss? You do have those moments where you will meet somebody that just totally impresses you and kind of knocks your socks off. And you just kind of have this kind of offhand conversation where I just said, you know what? Your approach, and again, I have a sales background. I'm also a sales trainer. And so I commended him, just to say, hey, this is it's a very unique experience in terms of what I've experienced here, and I'm just, your sales approach is really good. And I did tell him, I have a sales background, and you're really good. And he said, you know what, man? He said, what it is this is the first gym I've worked at in 10 years. Again, long history in the industry. He was fit. He had right motives. This is the first gym I've worked at where the owner basically said, do the right thing. He said, I don't have to pressure people to join. I have to manipulate. I don't have to hound people. None of that. So again, very different experience. And I raved about that young man and the write-up and evaluation. Definitely gave him a huge kudos and shout out. And so, but again, same chain, different franchise owners, very different experiences. Okay, and so it's all about, again, motives. What are you trying to do? And like that young man alluded to, hey, his motives were right, but he was perfectly aligned in terms of where he was working because the motives were right. And when I evaluate different facilities, it's just like I said, just the variation is so eye-opening. Okay, you've got some, again, the great facilities. What did Jim Collins say in his book, From Good to Great? Okay, the enemy of great is good. Being good is a wonderful thing, but being great is, again, it's taking it up several notches. When I think about some of these best practices, again, that make some of these facilities great, and it's being responsive to feedback. It's having, again, having 7,000 members under contract, having every member, every employee, regardless of title, be CPR certified, because you never know what could happen. And again, from a liability, or just from a human standpoint, being able to help someone or to attempt to help someone or save someone's lives. Unfortunately, people do pass away in fitness facilities. It's not uncommon. If you kind of study what happens in facilities, it's not uncommon. Things like that. There's actually gyms in this country, yes, folks, and listen up, women particularly. There's actually facilities in this country that screen regularly their employees, members, and even guests for, they have, of course, a national sex offender database registry, but they evaluate, regularly. Our members, are they coming up on this sex offender database? And those members are not allowed. People with those type of backgrounds are not allowed to be members. Okay, if you're coming in as a guest of someone and you're a member of the sex offender, you're not coming in. Again, and everybody's human and everybody, whatever. But these owners are concerned about, again, protecting their members, but also, again, from a liability standpoint, a lot of sexual harassment claims and lawsuits are filed against trainers. Okay, and you've got sexual assaults that occur in fitness facilities. Definitely stuff like that happens. And so you've got some people that are just, again, so on top of their game where they're just, basically doing all that they can from a liability standpoint to decrease. Because you've got to understand, folks do not, for the most part, people are great law-abiding citizens, but you've got that segment of folks who could care less about you, could care less about you as a trainer, care less about you as a group of fitness instructor, care less about you as a corporate facility general manager, assistant manager, care less about you as a franchise owner. You've got to make sure, again, you're protecting yourself. And I even think about, Grandpa Psycho Stalker at my gym. Do you think that man cared about, me? Absolutely not. Do you think he cared that the facility itself right here in Novi is owned by a fitness icon, is the founder of the franchise, and has a great reputation in the industry? Absolutely not. So again, folks, you got to recognize people don't care. There's a certain segment of people that could care less. And so those folks, again, those great facilities are those that know that and that protect themselves. And I want to conclude with one final point. We talk about this concept of motives. This was huge news here in the last about 10 days or so in New Orleans, coming out of New Orleans, and it actually also made the Athletic Business magazine. I saw it in the e-newsletter as well. Long story short, going back to motives. Again, when employees are coming through the door, potential employees are interviewing, uncover motives. Because if you know, sometimes you'll be able to uncover wrong motives, and it's so important to catch that early on rather than, years later when some damage has been done, like in this particular case. So, very prominent family in the New Orleans area, the Francos. All right, and so they own the Franco's Athletic Club. So what happened was two senior level longtime employees essentially or actually embezzled $1.7 million over 8 years. All right, $1.7 million. And that tells you how successful this particular what I call them fitness family was, or fitness dynasty here in New Orleans. And so they own 3 different facilities. One of the 3 was a CrossFit studio, so very successful. They have, between all 3 facilities, 14,000 members and 300 employees, all right, at their location. And so big news, very, very big news, because again, motives. All right, everyone does not have, including employees, does not always have your best interest at heart. That's why there's that old saying, trust, yes, it's important, trust, but verify. So that was from the Times-Picayune on February 17th. That's when the story broke. But also a few days later, it actually appeared in the e-newsletter of Athletic Business Magazine. I actually grew up watching my dad read this magazine, and now it's interesting. Now I read it all the time myself. So Athletic Business, the e-newsletter, pointed out, again, these 2 longtime employees, and what they did was they embezzled, 1.7 million. So 1.4 million of that was in cash for personal use. All right, redirected more than $165,000 in credit card charges by means of fake accounts. And lastly, they deleted more than $19,000 in personal loans from Franco's 401k. Because again, and that tells you how successful this particular, fitness family was in these 3 facilities, because they offered benefits, including a 401k to their employees. All right. So again, it is also alleged that one of the folks on 2 occasions used a club owner's name to obtain large sums of money without authorization. All right. So folks, very, very big story. Again, motives. And these, like they said, the Francos, wonderful couple, very well respected in the New Orleans area, Southeast Louisiana. Wonderful gyms, higher end gyms, more expensive gyms. But look what happened to them. 8 years, these 2 individuals took 1.7, and they were senior level employees, long time trusted employees. So, but it all goes back to motives. All right, all goes back to motives. So I want to challenge you, particularly those of you who own franchises. Okay, it's so important to really be on top of your game. Trust but verify. Have strong, and that's always just an inherent weakness. Studies have shown, research has shown, inherent weaknesses of family-owned businesses. The accountability, in many cases, is not what it needs to be. And so I just challenge you today. I want each and every facility in this country to succeed. I don't want any facility to have legal problems or, again, embezzlement issues, $1.7 million embezzlement problems or $10,000 embezzlement problems. It doesn't matter. All right. So, but you've got to protect yourself. And a wonderful book. I actually wrote a book several years ago called Monetizing Your Passion, to encourage people to become entrepreneurs. But there's a fantastic book. I actually heard Nick Neonatis speak here about 1.5 years ago, right here in Novi at the Franchise Expo. And he worked this wonderful book called The Franchise MBA, where he really digs down deep, step by step. If you're thinking about buying a franchise, owning a franchise, buying a franchise from somebody who's already successful, do your research. But this is a wonderful book, and it just talks about some of the key factors and how important accountability is. As you're running your businesses, as you're thinking about, again, buying a business, but there's a certain mindset that is required. Okay, you can't be lax. You can't be lackadaisical and just think everybody has your best interest at heart and everyone cares about you, because they don't. All right, it's your responsibility as leaders, particularly as owners and general managers, to care about yourselves and your facilities. Okay, as well as, again, your employees. You have a responsibility to protect your members, your employees, but also yourselves. Because if you're not successful, there's going to be no fitness franchise. There's going to be no business. All right. And so, folks, I thank you so much for your time, and make it a wonderfully fit day.